Welcome to My Time to Ride. In today's video, I decided to discuss the rear subframe brace, mainly because it is a quick install and it's cold outside and I do not have a garage heater yet. So let's jump in. If you're a fan of the Honda XR650L, you know it's a legendary dual sport bike. But like any bike, it has its weak spots. Today we're tackling one of the most well-discussed weak spots, the rear subframe. Why does it fail? How can you prevent it? And what upgrades actually work? The XR's rear subframe has a reputation for cracking at the attachment points on the rear frame. This usually happens when you load it up with heavy luggage and hit rough terrain. I assume it's on older bikes too. I have no access to objective data regarding rear subframe failure prevalence, so I'm just assuming it is indeed a widespread problem. So with that assumption, what's going on back there? The culprit here is repetitive stress and material fatigue. When you're riding off-road, constant flexing and bending at the subframe's attachment point weaken the metal over time. This is called fatigue failure, and it happens when materials face repeated forces below their breaking point, like bending a paperclip back and forth. It holds up at first, but eventually it will fail. To prevent this, many riders turn to aftermarket braces. These usually involve gussets, triangular reinforcements placed at stress points. Gussets spread force over a wider area, making the joint stronger and less likely to flex. Gussets convert bending stresses into compressive and tensile stresses, which metals handle much better. Even lightweight gusset braces, which limit bending and flexing, can significantly reduce the risk of failure without adding significant weight. Luggage choice also plays a role. A traditional rack and pannier system puts most of the weight directly on the rear subframe. This ramps up the stress and increases the chance of failure. But with a rackless luggage system, like the Moscow Moto Rackless 40 or 80, a lot of the weight shifts to the rear seat, which takes some of the load off of the subframe. It's a win-win. Less stress for the bike and less stress on you that it's going to fail. They also look really cool. In my case, I've opted for the aluminum rear frame support from NICECNC instead of the heavier steel option. Why? It's lightweight and appears to be well designed. One side has a gusset for reinforcement, while the other side features a joint support brace to limit flexing. Sure, it might not be a gusset on both sides, but this combo should greatly reduce repetitive stress, the main cause of fatigue failure. Paired with my rackless Moscow luggage system, I'm optimistic that I've got a solid setup. Let's be honest, I am no daredevil. I started riding later in life and I've already shattered my ankle once. In fact, my left leg probably has more metal reinforcement in it than I plan to put on the rear subframe. These days, I'm as focused on avoiding my own structural failure as I am on the bikes. With the brace and my more cautious riding style, I suspect this setup will help protect both. Another bonus, the NICECNC brace doesn't interfere with tire clearance. That means I can put whatever tire on that I want. And since it's lightweight, it doesn't feel like I've added a cinder block to the back of the bike. Now here's my disclaimer, I'm not a structural engineer or a material scientist, but I did chat with my friend who is a structural engineer on commercial jets, so he knows about stress and fatigue. His take? The NICECNC brace should work well in theory, but without proper testing, he can't say for sure. I feel that the NICECNC brace is probably the right choice for my setup. What about you? Have you had issues with the XR650L subframe? Do you have any tips? Do you think I'm totally off base? If so, please let me know in the comments. A broken subframe is a lot less fun than a good discussion. I'll soon be installing more parts, which I bought myself for Christmas.